On March 25th of 1990, an act of arson was committed at 1959 Southern Boulevard in the Bronx section of New York City. Known as the Happy Land Social Club, an unlicensed nightclub frequented by many of the locals in the community, were repeatedly ordered to close down to numerous building code violations, including lack of fire exits, alarm or sprinkler system malfunctions. However, there were no follow-ups ordered by the fire department. Julio Gonzalez, an out-of-work Cuban immigrant, was able to gain entry into the United States from the Mariel boat lift. In 1980, Fidel Castro let an estimated 125,000 Cubans flee the communist regime. Many of them, tens of thousands, were released from Cuban prisons and insane asylums. Gonzalez, who had spent 3 years inside of a Cuban prison for deserting the army, initially tried to leave Cuba, but was not allowed. However, Gonzalez, with the aid of forged criminal records claiming he was a convicted drug dealer, thus making his escape via the boats heading towards the southern Florida coastline. Getting to the United States, traveling the country, and enjoying his newfound freedom, Gonzalez eventually settled in New York City. At the time of the fire, Gonzalez, who had lost his job at a local factory 2 weeks previous, was seen at the Happy Land Social Club arguing with his former girlfriend, Lydia Feliciano, who was an employee of the club. They had argued with her that night, telling her to quit and that he no longer wanted her working there. She told him they were no longer together and had him thrown out by the bouncer. At around 3 a.m., drunk and stumbling out of the building, he threatened to, quote, shut the place down and swore he'd come back. Gonzalez went to a gas station and purchased $1 worth of gasoline, put it in a plastic container, and headed back to the building where the club was located. He poured the contents at the base of the stairs to the club's entrance, which was also the only exit. Gonzalez lit a match and threw it. As he fled, the entire nightclub quickly engulfed in flames, trapping most of the people who were there. By the time the fire department arrived and the fire had been put out, 87 people had died. 19 bodies were found downstairs, and the rest up above the upper levels. 6 bodies were found within a few feet of the door. Some of those who were trapped had tried punching a hole in the wall to an adjoining union hall in a desperate attempt to escape. Most of the deaths were due to asphyxiation or trampling. The club filled with toxic smoke so quickly that some victims were found with drinks still in their hands. Only a small handful of people escaped, including Gonzalez's ex-girlfriend Lydia, the club owner's wife, and the DJ. The following afternoon, as investigators interviewed the survivors and learned of the previous night's argument and threats, police went to the boarding house where Gonzalez was living, and he had been woken up from a drunken stupor and was placed under arrest. Officers recovered his gasoline-soaked clothes from his room, and after reading him his rights, he confessed to being the one who was responsible for the fire. Gonzalez was charged with 174 counts of murder, 2 for each victim. On August 19, 1991, Julio Gonzalez was found guilty of 87 counts of murder and 87 counts of arson and was sentenced to 25 years to life for each count, all to be served concurrently, meaning that he would be eligible for parole in March of 2015. However, Gonzalez was denied during his first parole meeting. He died the following year on September 13th of a heart attack at the age of 61. And here I am at 1959 Southern Boulevard in the Bronx. And this building right here, this is where the club used to be. And this is where the fire happened and all 87 people lost their lives in a horrible, horrible, heinous act of murder. And quite often, you don't really hear about murders such as this and being charged with so many, but in this case, it was just a very senseless act of hate. And across the street, is a memorial that was made to commemorate the lives lost on that night. Okay, YouTube, Lamont at Large, I'm signing out. I'll catch up with you on the next vlog. Peace out.